Have you ever looked at your bank account after a completely normal month and wondered where all your money went? You didn't buy anything crazy, no major purchases, just regular stuff, groceries, a few meals out, maybe a new phone because your old one was getting slow, normal expenses, and yet somehow you're sitting there thinking you should have way more money than you do. The thing is, and this is what most people don't realize until it's too late, a lot of the stuff we buy today just isn't worth it anymore. Not even close. Prices have gone completely insane on things that used to be reasonable, and we're all just sort of going along with it because that's what everyone does. My name is Nick, and I help people understand money and how to actually keep more of it instead of watching it disappear on overpriced garbage. If you want to stop feeling broke all the time and actually figure out where your money should be going, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button if this helps you out. Let's start with something that's probably going to make some people defensive, but it needs to be said. Fast food isn't cheap anymore. It just isn't. Remember when fast food was the thing you got because it was quick and affordable? That was the whole point. You could grab a burger and fries for a few bucks and be on your way. Those days are gone, completely gone. Now you're looking at 12, 15, sometimes $20 for a meal at McDonald's or Burger King, $20 for fast food. That's not even sitting down at a real restaurant with actual plates and someone bringing you water. You're standing at a counter or sitting in your car eating out of a paper bag, and it's costing you the same as a decent meal at a casual dining place would have cost just a few years ago. The value proposition has completely disappeared. You're paying premium prices for food that's still the same quality it always was, which is to say, not great. And people are doing it anyway because it's convenient and we've all just accepted that this is normal now. But it gets worse when you think about eating out at actual restaurants. Not fast food, but sit-down places. This used to be something you could do pretty regularly without destroying your budget. Maybe once or twice a week you'd go out for dinner. No big deal. Now? Going out to eat has become this luxury expense that adds up so fast, it's genuinely shocking. You sit down, order a couple of entrees, maybe an appetizer, definitely drinks because why not? And before you know it, you're looking at a bill that's $60, $70, $80 for two people, like one meal. And that's at a place that's not even fancy, just a regular restaurant, nothing special. Then you add the tip because of course you're tipping and suddenly you've spent $100 on dinner, $100 that's gone forever. You can't get it back. It's not like you bought something that holds value, you ate some food, and now it's over. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with enjoying a meal out. But when you're doing this multiple times a week, which a lot of people are, you're talking about thousands of dollars every single month just disappearing into restaurant bills. And for what? Food that honestly you could have made at home for a fraction of the cost. Maybe it wouldn't be quite as good, sure. But would it be good enough to justify spending 5 or 6 times more? Probably not. Most people who are struggling financially, and I mean really struggling to save money or invest or build any kind of wealth, they're eating out way too often. That's usually where a huge chunk of their income is going. They don't even realize it because it's $20 here, $30 there, but it adds up to this massive expense category that's completely optional. Then there's cars. Brand new cars, specifically, this one drives me crazy because the math is so obvious, and yet people keep doing it. Buying a new car is one of the worst financial decisions you can make, and I'm not exaggerating. The moment you drive a new car off the dealer's lot, it loses something like 20% of its value instantly. You haven't even gotten home yet, and you're already down thousands of dollars. Then it keeps depreciating, losing more value every single year. Meanwhile, you're probably making payments on it because most people finance cars these days. So you're paying interest on top of the purchase price, and the thing you're paying for is actively becoming worth less and less. It's the opposite of an investment. It's just burning money, and people do it because they want that new car smell and the feeling of having the latest model. They want people to see them driving something current, status stuff, basically. Which is fine if you're rich and money doesn't matter to you, but if you're a normal person trying to build wealth, buying new cars is going to keep you poor. just straight up. A 3 or 4 year old used car is going to be just as reliable, get you to the same places, and cost half as much. Maybe less than half. The depreciation has already happened. Someone else took all the utility of the car without that hit. You're getting the stupid financial penalty. But people don't want to hear this because they've convinced themselves they deserve a new car. They work hard, they should treat themselves, except treating yourself to a new car means you're treating yourself to being broke for the next 5 years while you make purchases. Let's talk about clothing. Payments, speaking of status, specifically branded luxury clothing, designer stuff. Now look, I'm not saying all expensive clothing is a waste. Sometimes you need quality items that last. A good pair of boots, a well-made coat, things like that can be worth spending more on because they'll last years and actually save you money in the long run. But that's not what most people are buying when they buy expensive clothing. They're buying logos. They're buying brand names. They're buying the ability to tell people they own something from a luxury brand. And they're paying absolutely insane markups for it. You can buy a plain white t-shirt for $10, or you can buy essentially the same t-shirt with a designer logo on it for $200. Same cotton, same factory, probably. The only difference is the logo. And people will pay that $200 because they think it makes them look successful or fashionable or whatever. Meanwhile, nobody actually cares what brand your t-shirt is except you. Nobody's impressed. They might notice the logo, sure, but it's not changing their opinion of you. You're just out $190 extra for no real reason. This applies to so much clothing. Designer jeans, luxury handbags, expensive sneakers. The quality difference between the luxury version and a normal version is usually pretty minimal. What you're paying for is the brand recognition. And that's fine if you have money to burn, but most people doing this don't. They're going into credit card debt to buy designer clothes because they think it's important. It's not. It's marketing convincing you that you need these things to be worth something as a person. You don't. Vacations are another one that's gotten completely out of control price-wise. Taking a vacation used to be pretty affordable if you were smart about it. You could find decent flights, stay at a budget hotel, eat at inexpensive local places, and have a good time without spending a fortune. That's gotten way harder. Flight prices are insane now. Hotels are insane. Even the budget options are expensive compared to what they used to be. Yeah, and people are still taking these elaborate vacations they can't afford because they feel like they have to. They see everyone else posting vacation photos on social media, and they think they need to do the same thing. So they book a trip they can't really afford, put a bunch of it on credit cards, and then spend the next year paying it off with interest. For else. So don't get me wrong. Travel what? A week of being somewhere can be great. Seeing new places, experiencing different cultures, all of that has value, but not if it's putting you in debt. Not if it's preventing you from saving money or investing for your future. There's this attitude that you have to travel while you're young. You have to see the world. You have to collect experiences. Sure, experiences are valuable, but you know what else is valuable? Not being broke, not being stressed about money all the time, not having to work until you're 70 because you spent all your money on vacations in your 20s and 30s. Maybe the better approach is to take smaller trips closer to home, explore your own region, find free or cheap things to do, save the expense of international travel for when you can actually afford it without going into debt. But that's not what people want to hear. They want permission to spend money they don't have on experiences they think they need. And while we're talking about subscriptions, let's address streaming services. Everyone has like 5 or 6 of them now. Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Paramount Plus, whatever else exists. Each one is only $10 or $15 a month, which doesn't sound like much, but when you add them all up, you're paying $60, $70, $80 a month just for streaming services. That's close to $1,000 a year for television. Now think about how much of that content you're actually watching. You're probably using 1 or 2 services regularly and barely touching the others, but you keep paying for all of them because you might want to watch something on them eventually. Meanwhile, that's money that could be going toward literally anything else: investments, savings, paying off debt, whatever. Instead, it's going to streaming services you barely use, and cable is even worse. Like, people are still paying for cable somehow. Even though everything is available streaming now, they're paying $150 a month for cable packages with hundreds of channels they never watch. It's completely unnecessary at this point, but people keep doing it because that's what they've always done. They haven't bothered to cancel it and figure out a cheaper alternative. So they just keep paying. And it's not just cable. Like, people are doing this with gym memberships too. They sign up for a gym, pay $50 or $60 a month, go for the first 2 weeks, then never go again. But they keep paying because canceling feels like admitting defeat. So that's another $500-$600 a year just gone. Money that could have been invested or saved or used for something that actually matters. But instead, it's going to a gym membership you're not using because you don't want to admit you're not going. Then there's the whole thing with buying new electronics every single year. New phone comes out, people line up to buy it even though their current phone works perfectly fine. New laptop, new tablet, new smartwatch, whatever. The old one still works, but the new one has slightly better features, so obviously they need it. This is probably one of the dumbest ways people waste money, and almost everyone does it to some degree. A new iPhone costs what? $1,000 now? Maybe more, depending on the model. And people are buying them every year or every 2 years when their old phone is completely functional. Like, you're sure the new one has a better camera or a faster processor or whatever. But does that actually improve your life in any meaningful way? Probably not. You're still using it to scroll social media, send texts, and take pictures of your food. The old phone did all that just fine. And it's not just phones, laptops, tablets, gaming consoles, all of it. People are constantly upgrading to the latest version when the thing they already own works perfectly well. Tech companies have figured out how to make people feel like they need the newest model even when they absolutely don't. They release a new version every year with minor improvements, and people fall for it every time. Meanwhile, if you just kept your phone or laptop for 4 or 5 years instead of upgrading constantly, you'd save thousands of dollars. Thousands. That could be invested. That could be earning returns. But instead, it's going to Apple or Samsung or whoever because people think they need the latest gadget. The worst part is that these devices don't even last as long as they used to. They're designed to break or become obsolete faster, so you have to keep buying new ones. Planned obsolescence is real, and it's screwing everyone over. But people keep participating in it because they want the shiny new thing. They want to feel like they're keeping up with technology, even though technology has advanced way beyond what most people actually need for their daily lives. Here's another one that's gotten completely goods, branded cleaning products, expensive, out of control, premium household kitchen gadgets, designer furniture, all that stuff. People are spending way more than they need to on basic household items because they think the expensive version is somehow better. Sometimes it is, sure. But most of the time you're just paying for a brand name. Generic cleaning products work just as well as the name brand stuff, but cost half as much. That cheap spatula from the dollar store does the same thing as the fancy one from Williams-Sonoma. Nobody needs a $400 blender unless they're running a smoothie shop. But people buy this stuff anyway because they've been convinced that expensive means better quality, and sometimes that's true, but often it's not. There's this whole culture now around having the perfect kitchen with all the right tools and gadgets. People are buying specialized equipment for things they make once a year, bread makers they never use, pasta makers collecting dust, expensive knife sets. When they only ever use 2 of the knives, it's all just stuff taking up space and draining bank accounts. And furniture, don't even get me started on furniture. People are financing furniture now. Financing it like it's a car or a house. They're going into debt to buy a couch that's going to be worn out and stained in 5 years anyway, but they want the nice one from the expensive store, so they put it on a payment plan and pay interest on a couch. That's insane. You can get a perfectly good couch for a few $100s if you're willing to look around a bit, thrift stores, online marketplaces, clearance sales, whatever. But people don't want to do that because they want everything to look perfect and match and be Instagram worthy. So they spend thousands on furniture they can't afford. Then there's what I call status spending. This is when people buy things not because they need them or even really want them, but because they think it makes them look successful. Expensive watches, designer bags, luxury cars they can barely afford. All of it is just trying to project an image of wealth to other people, and it's completely backwards. Actually, wealthy people usually aren't the ones doing this. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. It's people who want to look wealthy but aren't actually building wealth who fall into this trap. They're spending money on things that depreciate in value just so they can look successful to their friends and neighbors and random strangers who don't care about them at all. Meanwhile, they have no savings, no investments, nothing building for their future, but they've got the nice watch and the designer purse, so everyone thinks they're doing great. It's all fake, all of it. And the really sad part is that this kind of spending is often driven by insecurity. People think if they have the right stuff, they'll feel better about themselves or other people will respect them more. But it doesn't work that way. Respect comes from character and actions, not from the brand of your handbag. And feeling better about yourself definitely doesn't come from going into debt to buy things you don't need. So where does all this leave us? Well, pretty much everything costs more than it used to, and most of it isn't worth the price anymore. Fast food is expensive and terrible. Restaurants are overpriced. New cars are financial suicide. Clothes are marked up like crazy. Vacations cost more than they should. Subscriptions are bleeding everyone dry. Electronics are overpriced and designed to break. Household stuff is unnecessarily expensive, and status spending is just throwing money away to impress nobody. The solution isn't that complicated, really. Stop buying stuff you don't need. Stop trying to keep up with everyone else. Like, stop falling for marketing that tells you need the newest version of everything. Just stop. Cook at home more. Keep your car longer. Buy used when you can. Cut subscriptions you don't use. Keep your phone until it actually breaks. Buy generic products. Stop trying to look rich and start actually building wealth instead. Because that's what it comes down to. You can either look wealthy or be wealthy, but for most people, you can't do both. Every dollar you spend on impressing other people or buying stuff you don't need is a dollar that's not working for your future. And maybe that means your life looks a little less impressive on social media. Maybe you don't have the newest phone or the fanciest car or the most exotic vacation photos. But savings, investments, what you will have, money, actual financial security instead of the appearance of it. That's worth way more than any of this other stuff, but most people won't figure that out until it's too late. Look, I'm not saying you have to live like a monk and never enjoy anything. That's not the point. Buy things that actually matter to you, things that genuinely improve your life or bring you real happiness, but be honest about what those things are. Most of the stuff people spend money on doesn't actually make them happier. It just makes them broke. And being broke definitely doesn't make you happier. The reality is prices have gone up on everything and they're probably not coming back down. Companies have figured out they can charge more and people will still pay. So they keep raising prices and we keep paying because we think we don't have a choice, but we do. We can just stop buying overpriced stuff. We can say no. We can keep our old phone another year. We can cook dinner instead of going out. We can skip the designer whatever and buy the normal version. It's not that hard once you actually think about it instead of just doing what everyone else is doing. The people who figure this out early are the ones who end up financially comfortable later. The ones who keep spending money they don't have on things they don't need are the ones who end up stressed about money for their entire lives, wondering why they can't get ahead even though they make decent money. Well, this is why. All these little expenses that seem reasonable in the moment, but add up to thousands and thousands of dollars every year that just disappear. So maybe think about where your money's actually going. Track it for a month if you need to. You'll probably be surprised how much you're spending on stuff that doesn't matter. then figure out what you can cut, because I guarantee there's something. Usually there's a lot of somethings, and that money could be doing something way more useful than paying for your 7th streaming service or your 3rd meal out this week.